Okay, the economy has stalled, so why has the Reserve Bank only cut the OCR by 0.25? I mean, Minister Shane Jones says they should have gone much further, and surely it needed something bigger. Is the Reserve Bank extending the pain by not being bold enough? And how is the Prime Minister's plans for 2025 to be the year of economic growth? He's failed big time, hasn't he? The cut only proves how far back we've gone. Does anyone have any idea how to run and manage this economy? Let's go.
Are we paying these people to front up, or are we paying them to fly to Wellington to eat their lunch? Should you really lose your career for refusing to take part in a 90-minute lesson about Māori culture? This government doesn't actually have any idea how to get economic growth. Show us what you made of, Prime Minister.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan, Garner.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Duncan, Garner. Welcome to the podcast, and please subscribe. Helps us stay around a bit longer, and we like it when you subscribe. Tell your friends. Chris Luxon's credibility and ability to run this economy has been shredded, hasn't it? The economy's not just stalled, it's completely stopped. It's gone backwards. So much for his big 2025 push for economic growth, saying it doesn't mean it'll happen. Just saying, we'll get economic growth doesn't mean it'll happen. Where's the plan? Why hasn't it happened? Let me explain. Let's go.
It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, so we've had this 0.25 OCR cut. So interest rates are coming down. So what? Will it be enough to breathe life into the economy? So far it hasn't been. I think it needed to go 50 points, 0.5. It's lifeless out there. And 0.25 was expected. All the previous cuts, the 25s, haven't worked, have they? The Reserve Bank has tried to engineer a recovery in the past 12 months, but so far they've only come up with more recession-like conditions. They needed to go further, earlier. Luxon and Nicola Willis and the Reserve Bank are all desperate to get growth, but no one's been willing or brave enough to try something outside the box. Luxon started the year demanding growth. Remember this? What he needed was a comprehensive plan, but it never came. He never changed the settings, the crucial settings. He didn't touch business tax rates. He took no risks, and screaming out for economic growth doesn't mean you'll get it. In fact, we've gone backwards. Yet just months ago, he thought his budget and his approach would mean progress. He couldn't have been more wrong. He was, fingers crossed, just hoping, wasn't he?
Here's one way Budget 2025 helps you. Because if you're a small business, if you're a farmer or a tradie, or if you're self-employed, you can now immediately deduct 20% of the cost of a new asset on top of depreciation. And that means a much lower tax bill in the first year of purchase. Now just think of that new work phone, a camera, a tractor, a toolkit, anything that you need to get the job done. Over the last week, I've been all over the country chatting with businesses, small, medium and large, about Investment Boost. And they're telling me that this will be a game changer. In many cases, it's pushed people across the line to invest in new machinery and equipment, and that's exactly what we want to see, because that investment means more products can be produced, more jobs can be created, and more wages can grow as a result. That means a growing economy and more money in your back pocket to help you with the cost of living.
That was after the budget. Luxon thought being able to write off 20% of the cost of some new plant or a new machine or new equipment, tractor maybe, whatever, would breathe life into the country and the economy. It has not done anything of the sort. It's flat. And the economy has not only fallen flat, it's gone backwards. Flat on its face, then backwards. Not just stalled, but projections of 0.3+% growth have seen us go back 0.3% contraction. The economy's contracted, and that's called a recession. We've sat here lifeless watching Trump run amok with his tariff nonsense, waiting and hoping something might change. It hasn't. Well, it has, but only for the worse, you see. More jobless, more on the dole, more going to Australia, and the government looks clueless and reaches each time for the lower interest rates and lower inflation as its measure of success. They are, of course, the work of the Reserve Bank. But Luxon & Co. will take it. When you have nothing else, you'll claim it. You'll claim what you can. But it's also proof that the oxygen has been sucked from this economy. Investment decisions have stalled, and more people are without work. And this was meant to be the golden year of success, according to Luxon. Anyway, following the decision yesterday, Luxon and his Finance Minister, Nicola Willis, fronted and seemed more relieved rather than address the fact that this means the economy's gone to the pack.
Nicola and I are very welcoming of the announcement from the Reserve Bank of the further lowering of the OCR and also the likelihood of further cuts over the course of the year till Christmas. That's welcome news. I think if you're a homeowner in New Zealand, that means that you're going to have more money in your back pocket, and of course that's money that you can spend in the economy. Likewise, if you're a business owner, that means that you can borrow to invest and to grow your company and to continue employing people. We have about 40% of people in New Zealand that will be refinancing their mortgages in the next 6 months, so they will really start to feel the benefits of those lower interest rates transmitting through the economy.
Luxon and the Reserve Bank are overseeing a recession, and with COVID now in the distant past, this shouldn't be happening. And I don't know if it's acceptable to voters. It doesn't look like it, given the polls. Luxon blames Trump's tariffs, and that's cosy and convenient, and it shifts the blame from an economy that barely was performing anyway. Willis says this means homeowners will have more money, and she's urging them to spend it to get the economy moving. This is what she said.
The official cash rate decision today forecasts more reductions than had previously been forecast by the Reserve Bank, which will have the effect of lower interest rates in future. That creates the conditions in which businesses can create jobs and growth, and we know that that's what New Zealand households want to see. I'd also highlight that for those with a mortgage, the interest rate reductions that have occurred under our government are really significant. For someone on a $500,000 mortgage on a floating rate, they would now be paying $330 less a fortnight to service that loan.
But families are cautious, and it seems that they're paying down debt rather than splashing the cash at all the retail shops. Retail is doing it really hard, really hard. Why splash cash when things are so uncertain? And even now, the outlook for the months ahead is still uncertain, and there'll be more interest rate cuts. They should have come yesterday. We know more interest rate cuts are coming, but why wait? Why not cut it now to shock the economy into life? Why wait months? There's a delayed effect anyway. So why push it back further? This has gone on too long as it is. Truth is, I don't think 0.25 was enough. Why don't they go the whole hog and cut it by 0.5? This economy needs a rocket, not a half-wet whistle. This economy stalled. We all knew that weeks ago, if not months ago. And what we know is two people on the committee making up the decision voted for a cut of 0.5 at the Reserve Bank, not 0.25. They wanted 0.5. This is the first time this has happened.
We've never had a 4-2 vote before that.
We need something bigger to pull us out of this deep trench that we've got stuck in. This is such a blow to the government, and especially Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, because the rate confirms that his big plan to get economic growth pumping this year has failed. The rate cuts means that we've failed spectacularly. He staked his year on it.
Yes, we've seen economic activity stall in Q2, but that could be temporary. That could bounce back, and we are already seeing some indicators from July quite healthy.
Has National made much of a difference? Truth is, it's spending more than Labor ever did. It's still running deficits and will do until 2029. It didn't really cut much from budgets. The savings were just reprioritised. And public service staffing levels are largely the same as when they took office. And Luxon's still whacking out his Instagram posts, promoting the new lower interest rates as though it was all his work. Ignore the fact it's cheesy.
Great news, interest rates have dropped to a 3-year low, putting more money in your back pocket.
But families know it may take a while to flow through, plus they're facing massive increases in their power bills and rates bill, so it's just been sucked up. Conveniently, that's overlooked by Luxon. But families will be largely unmoved, I think, by this 0.25 cut. They, of course, would have hoped for something much bigger. The previous 12 months of cuts have done nothing for the economy. Where's it got us? Interest rates have dropped significantly, and we're still in the shit. Why will this suddenly mean nirvana? I can't see it. I still think it will be a very slow and gradual recovery. But had the Reserve Bank been more aggressive and bolder, maybe the kick would have been more pronounced. I think they've merely dragged out this recession for longer by taking the conservative route. And all Luxon can parrot is more money in our back pockets. Really? None of us are feeling like we're rolling in it, Christopher. Cost of living is sucking it all up, Mr. Luxon. National, I think, needed a game changer from the Reserve Bank yesterday, and it didn't get it. Now it's just hoping the economy has some bounce in it. If it's still like this next year, then Luxon and National will be in serious trouble, in my view. Voters blame governments when the economy turns sour, and just hoping things change isn't enough. If National has a plan to get this place going, then I haven't seen it, and I'm unconvinced. Maybe fast track and those projects will kick in shortly, but so far just one project has got underway. More might be coming. More might be underway come the next election. They certainly need to. Luxon desperately needs things to turn for the better. Otherwise, he'll be in the fight of his life up against a centre-left coalition who should be nowhere near power, given their track record. But Luxon's running out of runway, isn't he? He needs something to change. He needs something to change fast.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, so Minister Shane Jones is responsible for regional economic growth, responsible for the fast-track law as well, getting things done. More mining, coal mining, and more industry, iron sands, offshore mining, offshore oil and gas, pushing mining industry as well. And Shane's out there talking to sold-out meetings around the country, 500 people are turning up to his meetings. So what does he make of the current economic malaise? We'll talk to him very shortly. I also know that Shane has said, and stands by this, that the Reserve Bank should have gone further yesterday. They should have gone 0.5, not 0.25. I'll ask him about that as well. Shane Jones, Minister, joins me at Wellington. Shane, kia ora, g'day, nice to see you.
Kia ora, greetings, folks.
How are you finding it out there? You're on the road a lot. You've been sent out of Wellington a lot to go and see the people, and you're getting big meetings. Well, how are you finding people?
If you're facing the export sales market, you're doing pretty good. But if you're in construction, retail, and related matters, a lot of people have said to me they're in Struggler's Gully.
Yeah.
Thing to bear in mind, mate, is if you're generating food, fish, meat, milk, to a certain extent, timber, and kiwi fruit produce and whatnot, it sells itself. We need to triple the size of it. And like I had a meeting yesterday with an iwi group, and I can see partly how we've got ourselves into this conundrum of economic development. A lot of the Māori agenda has been overtaken by people who are, number one, left-wing, number two, woke, number three, they regard economic development as an opportunity to either impose some sort of cultural tax, or that if it's not happening at their say-so, it's ruining their conception of the environment or where they come from. And then that sets up a lot of polarization. Look, I said to the group in the Central Volcanic Plateau area yesterday, I said, don't worry about mining. No one's coming to mine in your area. And I'm discouraging them from mining in your area. Go to the South Island. And I think that's part of the difficulty with growing the economy in some of our regions. We've yet to overcome all of this Māori veto ideology, and also the hangover of Jacinda, where everything you do to the environment is a threat to our green integrity.
Yeah.
And that's before you get to the bloody climate issue, Duncan. I mean, it's absolute crap that we can't derive our own climate change responses, policies here in New Zealand without falling afoul of trade agreements. That fear-mongering tactic that we have to do what the UN says about climate, or we're going to bugger up our trade capacity, is a far left-wing conspiracy.
You know, I was just down in Invercargill in the last couple of days, and, Ngāi Tahu's doing really well in the aquaculture and fisheries and seafood, live exports and everything. They just pump it out, and it's going gangbusters. The aluminium smelter, dairy, forestry, and the coal mine. They want to mine. They want industry. They're the opposite of what you just described, that woke left-wing sort of stuff. They just get on with it, and they want to have the ticket just to get on with it,
Yeah, well, what we should be doing is securing the future of coal. I mean, you may have seen my speech in Parliament yesterday. Old King Coal was a merry old soul.
Yeah.
The reality is, with gas declining and gas disappearing in quantities that people have long since been familiar with, it's been a cheap form of energy in New Zealand. So we're going to have to transition in the short term or in the medium term, because at some point, the sun ain't going to shine, the wind ain't going to blow, and the weather's...
I've heard you say that.
So we need coal.
And so, how's the permits looking under the fast track legislation? Are you looking at announcements shortly and that sort of stuff?
Oh, we're going to make we're making more amendments to the statute to ensure that local government entities don't use it as an opportunity to further stymie development. Sadly, a lot of applicants have said to me that local government are still making their lives misery, because local government have the opportunity to contribute and identify issues that should be borne in mind. The ports of Tauranga, they're facing litigation from a sub-tribe down there called Ngāti Kuku. A better name has never been contemplated since Christendom. So, and up home, the protesters turned out to interfere with my meeting, so they don't like the marina that's contemplated for the Bay of Islands. And a lot of the hapu, they're well-meaning people, but they're being manipulated by an American up there.
It's hard to get progress, eh? I mean, even with the fast track legislation, it still takes so much time, doesn't it, to get, because a lot of these companies have run out of town because of the decision by Jacinda Ardern around oil and gas. So trying to get their confidence back to say, hey, we're back in business. It's been bloody hard for you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, no, totally. As you know, I've been up to Singapore a couple of times on behalf of the government. Been well received up there. I'm confident a few of a few will come back. But my advice to my colleagues would be, if we get a big deal underway, we've got to build a large poison pill in the deal.
Yeah.
That if a future government seeks to strip them of their rights, then the New Zealand public and the government has to write a big check out. And
Yeah.
no member of the public is going to want that. But I mean, the fact that you and I are even having this discussion is an indictment on how far New Zealand politics has drifted in terms of the left wing towards Marxism.
Well,
I
and
mean,
the
really?
whole of New Zealand society. I mean, we used to dig, we used to build, we used to mine, we used to do all sorts of exploration and excavations. And now it's sort of seen as a scar on the land, and we can't do it. Otherwise, there's no free lunch. We're stuffed. The economy's hard enough as it is, Shane.
Well, we're in struggler's gully in a lot of our regions. But the other thing too is the reality, mate, is if you disfigure a part of the environment on the east, then you enrich the environment on the west, and it's better than when you started your original project. Then the environment's better off.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's that level of pragmatism that modern decision makers need to take on board. Do I think that things are going to get better? Well, obviously, because I'm standing for election with Winston again at the end of next year. But a bit more international investment coming into mining is, one of my areas. The fishing industry is not a huge part of our economy, but it's several $billion. Yeah, they're starting to show signs of life. But we do have a problem, mate, with the banks not dropping interest rates at a pace, I think, which is going to give more confidence. And it's just taking a lot longer to wrench ourselves out of this post-COVID Disneyland world that Jacinda left us in.
Yeah, you know what? The Reserve Bank yesterday, I actually personally think they should have gone 0.5. What are we waiting for? I mean, we're just prolonging this recession. If you went 0.5, you might shock the system into some life. What's 0.25 going to do? We've had a year of 0.25s. It's done nothing. We needed something bigger, I reckon.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I absolutely couldn't agree more. I thought they would have gone for a 0.5% reduction and said, shivers, we need to jolt the economy, because, the government's not really in a position to start spreading around too much sugar, although, a number of us are going to promote targeted and sensible things to do next year, because it's an election year, so we need to give people a better platform so they can see where their future lies. We've got about 3 or 4, maybe 500 million still to allocate from the Regional Infrastructure Fund, so we're looking at projects that quickly turn into economic activity. But also, mate, it's not a time for contemplating delay or procrastination, which is why I'm pretty hardline publicly about my fast track bill, which we handed over to the National Party as a part of the coalition agreement. And my approach is a bit different from Chris Bishop's, but we're both wanting the same outcomes.
Wherever I go, people say people say to me whenever I go around the provinces that the best thing that the government's doing is fast track, because they can't see much else. It's quite visible, fast track. You've invited people in. Let's get going. So people, the industry likes it. Industry loves it. They want it to happen, and they want it to go quicker if they can. But it's not always the case, right?
Yeah, well, it's also a certain culture amongst the people that have run the system for so long. Let's face it, planners have enjoyed enormous control. People in the building permit division can't even build a garden shed, can't even build a bloody a bit of a batch out the back without going through an inordinate amount of delay. So that's one small thing that we've tidied up for a lot of working class garden variety Kiwis who want mum and dad maybe to stay at home, or the mohopunas to hang around a bit longer. I mean, that's how we grew up, mate.
Exactly.
And we've allowed this, we've been enveloped for the last 25 years in a whole bunch of rules and regulations we cannot afford.
It's screwing us.
I mean,
that's absolutely screwing us. So you can't put it. I mean, hopefully you make some changes around the RMA that are useful as well, because it's stymied us and stifled us. We can't do anything.
Well, the other thing too about the RMA is that it's shown how wedded we are to some sort of command and control.
Yeah.
As you know, we're campaigning to get rid of regional councils. They should all be gone. DOC should be shrunk in half. A lot of the DOC land should be opened up for development, mining. We're going to campaign on that. I mean, it's 8% of the country, mate.
And they can't even look after it. They can't look after it. They don't have the money or them. They can't. They've got the people. They just simply can't. They leave it there. I reckon we're missing a trick, Shane. There's the people are hurting. You're right about the banks. They have. The OCR should be. I personally think the interest rates need to come back a lot more to breathe some life into the economy. I think they've missed the bloody boat again. To be honest.
Yeah, well, the system has been Reserve bankers independent. So, well, that's a matter we'll have to take up at the election as well, eh?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be difficult, isn't it? Because everyone looks at it, everyone looks at the election and goes, okay, well, do I feel better off? And if that's the question, you look at people in the north where you come from, do people feel better off? Do ordinary middle-class Kiwis or garden variety Kiwis, as you call them, feel better off after 3 years? It's a tough question to answer, isn't it?
Well, that's why we've got to accelerate the delivery of fast track, more dough into the economy through initiatives like I'm in charge of. And, mate, get decisions made a lot quicker. I mean, solar farms and whatnot, even they are being turned down. That's why I don't believe in a lot of this climate change. I just don't think Kiwis are all that concerned about it. If we were, then we would be permitting hydro schemes everywhere, clean green energy, would be using a lot more geothermal energy. And I don't think it's all that positive to have too many wind farms blighting the landscape. I'd rather have a couple more huge hydroelectric power stations.
Yeah, just get on with it. Do you worry about the I think you're probably right, New Zealand first actually, but do you worry that the coalition may not get back in because the economy is so stalled, if you like, or so flat? It's going to be a hard one to sell, isn't it?
Yeah, but at the same time, what's the other side selling? I mean, what's Chippy selling other than stale sausage rolls?
Nadi Wapaka.
Yeah, so you got Debbie and the Māori Party. I mean, they've really sold Māoridom down the bloody river. They've gone to ground because they're obviously not going to win the Māori seat in Tāmaki Makaurau. And then with the Green Party, at least you know what you're getting with them, a virulent form of Marxist destruction, virtue signalling green ideas, changing men to women, not knowing what is gender, indoctrinating our kids at school. So the one good thing about Chloe, she doesn't hide it.
No.
In fact, often I see her talking in Parliament, and Marama Davison, who's by and large a lost soul, even she hangs her head in shame. So
it might be your best weapon. It might be your best weapon. Just say, look at those guys. You want them in office?
Yeah. Well, I've been doing these meetings up to 4 or 5, and get 300, 400, 500 people along, and I've been making that point. Look, it's taking us a lot longer to turn the waka around, but really, do you want the Māori Party? Do you want the Green Party and Labour Party? And to a man and woman, they very quickly dismiss that prospect. But the other thing too, mate, they're not having to do much. They're not actually saying much.
They don't have to.
And the poll is bouncing around, and they've got at some point Labour's got to put some policies out, and that's when the content really begins.
Well, that's when it starts to get controversial because people may not like it. So Chippy's sitting back there going, well, I'm going to say nothing. The economy's average, so I will blame the government because everyone blames the government. So he's just sitting on popularity he hasn't earned it. So once he starts putting out his capital gains tax and everything else, and you start to see that, then you'll start to think, hang on a second, we want to get taxed up to the bloody high heaven again?
Nah, it's not wrong, mate. I was a bit disappointed with that convener from the fast track system dismissing the promoters of iron sand mining off the coast of Taranaki as cynical. I don't think it's correct for a legal officer to use that language. That's political language. And hey, mate, with the gas industry declining, what is it that people want us to do in Taranaki? You got Debbie and a loud, discordant group of surfers, half of whom look like hippie dope smokers to me, and they don't want the 30-kilometre offshore iron sand project. Okay, well, what other alternatives do you have?
Well, where are the jobs then? I mean, if we're not going to have industry, New Zealand used to be proud of industry. We used to be proudly, have industry onshore and offshore. Now we're somehow embarrassed to go digging and to have mines and to go looking for iron sands and so forth and excavating that. So where are the jobs, Shane? If we don't have industry, what do we have? Retail? That's stuffed.
Yeah, well, you end up being a hollowed-out economy, importing everything and a version of Hawaii without the weather.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, mate, is if you take this approach that every time we try and do some mining, we're fatally wounding the country, then politics is the best place to sort that out. And I lead with my chin. The reality is, when I had my meeting in Whangarei, there were 100 protesters outside, 300 people inside listening. I went out and I fronted the protesters. I wasn't defensive.
Good on you.
They told me where to bugger off to. There was one lady there who was insistent that I shouldn't be heard, so she kept thumping a bloody drum. You can imagine what I wanted to do with that drum.
Yes.
But people, Duncan, they should be happy that there's a colourful, hard-out politician who's going to front you and say, look, I don't agree with you. We've got to have economic development. We've got to stop all this tainting and demonisation.
The number of times I've sat at Whangarei Airport and I've been sitting there next to a couple of Māori jokers, and I say, what are you doing? They say, heading to Auckland, heading off to Perth. They go to work in the mines in Australia because that's where the work is. So we can't. So their whānau might be protesting here, but they're working in Australia in the mines. It's we're losing our people, mate.
Yeah, it's a level of hypocrisy, but that's what I say to you. The current motley group that have seized control of a lot of the iwi narrative, they are Marxist, they are weak, they are ill-informed, and they won't stand up against this foolishness. For example, there's a marina that's been planned in the Bay of Islands. Let it go through the process of the fast track.
Yeah.
And stop catastrophizing just because you have a marina in some distant bay that it's going to interfere with the killer whale. I mean, that
bullshit.
level
It's bullshit.
of stigmatization, the fact that it's even being treated seriously as an indictment on our whole sort of environmental management system.
I saw this in Whangamata too, when the Whangamata marina was being proposed and went to court, and Mei Chen was involved. There's all sorts of hassle, and it adds so much cost to the whole thing. In Australia, they just build. They just get on and build these things, Shane.
Well, if we come back into Parliament has been blessed to be the government the next time, we won't be going slower, we'll be going faster.
Yeah, you need to.
I mean, the virtue of the fast track I felt was that give it to the politicians and we'll keep control of it. But anyway, that sort of didn't find favour, and there were all sorts of lurid allegations. It means that the ministers would be corrupt and a host of other things said in the spirit of cruelty. But I keep saying to our opponents, right, meet us at the ballot box, because Winston and I, we are not going to let this climate change ideology continually bog us down on the road to penury. We're never ever going to tolerate any more wokeism. Sure, we're going to stand up for economic Māori empowerment and pride in that, but we are not going to let any hapu believe that they have a power of veto as to what happens with the Waikato River or the Takutai Moana. And by the way, have you noticed the most recent Supreme Court decision actually gave authority to the courts to now entertain claims and ownership challenges to the beds of rivers?
See that? I saw that the other day. I saw that last week. So that means that the beds of rivers are being opened up for ownership. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been established law for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So now it's been overturned at a time where all of our focus should be on economic empowerment, economic outcomes, choices that are better than what my generation have, and new ones for job opportunities and a better life for the rangatahi. But no, what do we find? They're being encouraged to go back and start relitigating the ownership of every river.
Yeah.
Mate, that's going to take decades, and what a negative set of outcomes that's
it really is. It's going to divide the country. It's going to lawyers will win, huge legal bills, and taxpayers will end up paying. And what are we left with at the end?
Precisely.
What are we left with?
We're left with a whole lot of alienated people. The environment won't have actually improved, And if anything, the capacity to evolve and develop our economy would have been hobbled.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.
Okay, time for letters to the editor. And, I'll kick this one off. Duncan, what a terrible, biased and unhinged piece of journalism on Beck's Nan, an individual well known for having no factual information on the misinformation she spreads and the horses she puts down to dissect for her own purposes. Perhaps check qualifications before you continue this slander of industries with strict welfare protocols. None of the practices she spoke about on your podcast would get past very strict the welfare rules. Should you want any real stats, info, stories on off the trackers, perhaps contact me at Event Stars. Facebook page will give you a good idea of my model. I rehome hundreds of horses off the track each year with success stories, including reserve for our Olympic team this year. I look forward to hearing from you. Regards, Gina. Thank you, Gina, for your feedback on our interview last night. Hi, Duncan. I've just listened to your podcast with Beck's Nan, and I was impressed with how openly you both exposed Harness Racing New Zealand's lack of accountability, which is ironic considering they require accountability for each horse. What you discussed is exactly what I'm experiencing right now, and it shows how deep these welfare failures go. Last month, I took in a 6-year-old gelding named Frankie. That's his race name. He came directly from a trainer still racing horses today, despite clear breaches of the welfare code. I was told about the situation that if these horses weren't rehomed, they'd be sent to the slaughter. Frankie was emaciated, condition, body score barely 1, crawling with lice, ticks and shedding worms. 2 mares alongside him, Tequila Sunrise and Beautiful Chevron, were left behind in a boggy paddock, freezing and unwanted after their promised home fell through. I regrettably couldn't bring them home with me, as I have a stallion and didn't want the risk of them being bred. Weeks went by and they remained at risk of being sent for dog food. Frankie's recovering now, but Tequila Sunrise and Beautiful Chevron may not have been so lucky. I don't know if they've made it out alive. I have evidence, photos and full details if you're interested in pursuing this further. I'll attach below. The story you and Beck started on your podcast deserves real-world examples, and I have one unfolding right now, which I fear is going to be swept under the rug yet again. In regard to slaughterhouses, there's only one MPI-approved one in New Zealand that still takes horses. No more hassle pet food in Levin. He is legitimate, keeps good records of all horses coming through. He would be worth contacting for an estimate on numbers that get sent to him each year. It's every man and his dog that does backyard slaughtering, dog tuckering as they call it. Thousands of places in New Zealand where someone can take a horse and have them shot and discarded, no questions. No questions asked, no paper trail. There's also Tongans that pay $500 for a horse off the track and take it home to eat for a cultural dish called loya husi, which is very commonly then sold on marketplace. Kind regards, Keisha. Thank you for your feedback and thank you for your tip-offs. I'll follow that up. That's us, folks. Thanks for your feedback and your support. Get in touch through our social media at Duncan Garner Podcast on TikTok, Instagram. Flick us an email at duncan@rover.nz to my team. Brody, thank you, brother. And Lockie, thank you, mate. We'll do it again tomorrow. Remember, life's no dress rehearsal, no curtain raiser. This is it. It's the only one you've got. We live in one of the best places on earth, so get out and enjoy it. Look after each other and enjoy the rest of the day. Have a great evening. Ta-ra, folks.
Editor-in-Chief with Duncan Garner.